Hey everybody, welcome to .NET Rocks. Woo, woo, hey! Richard and I are here at DevConnections.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
I just arrived.
We're looking at 10-foot pictures of ourselves.
I don't try and look that way. I look the other way.
It's really kind of crazy.
I had an aborted landing today on the way into Las Vegas.
So what happened?
Well, we were getting awful close to the ground, and the runway wasn't there, so we went the other way.
That's not good.
No, it was exciting. It was a wind shear emergency.
So. I loved your tweet. I'm awake.
I'm very awake
You
now.
have my attention.
Yes. That's my third aborted landing this year.
Wow.
So I'm over my quota. That's enough.
Well, we are here with the illustrious Kathleen Dollard. Hi, Kathleen.
Hello, Carl. How are you doing today? Hello, Richard.
Hi, sweetie.
We're great. And you brought along a special guest.
I did. I brought along a very special guest to me, which is my son, Benson Joris.
Hi, Ben.
Hello.
Hey, Ben.
Hi.
And what brings you to our stage today?
We're talking to you, Ben.
We're talking to you. Well, let me just start by saying Kathleen speaks very highly of you, and you are taking a break from getting your PhD.
Yep.
I just slid
and
down.
I'm looking at doing some other things. I'm here at the conference helping her present some stuff and
working
see how things go.
And working in what line of computing?
What do you mean?
What's your bag? What's your gig? What do you do?
I'm calling myself an algorithm architect right now.
Nice.
Looking at how to help take my academic knowledge of cutting-edge algorithms and apply that to helping solve business programming problems.
Wow.
And doing useful things.
I mean, you are pursuing a PhD. You're going to be an actual computer scientist.
So actually the current PhD I'm working on isn't in computer science. It's in
I
math.
see.
But I do have a lot of background in academic computer
You'll
science.
pick up
I have published papers in computer science.
You're going to do a few other PhDs as well? Just have a collection of them?
Yeah.
A doctorate here, a doctorate there. Pretty soon you know some stuff.
Just get them all.
So what kind of algorithms that you are working on lend themselves nicely to solving business problems?
So I've done some stuff with text searching and looking at stuff that's similar to what you do in like a web search, like a
search engine.
Google. Yeah.
So not just trying to match the word with the word in the database, but something a little more contexty?
Some similar stuff to that. And it's not exactly the same problems that's solved by a search engine, but it's looking at doing similar things, dealing with lots of text.
So Kathleen, do you call him when you get stuck on math? Or?
Are you kidding? Well, no, I get called when I get stuck on algorithms. He's actually he's working for me at Digital Folio, doing he's our algorithms specialist there. He's doing a lot of really great stuff for us. So it's really helped turn our processes around. So it's been great.
Wow.
It's been great because absolutely, I am the luckiest person in the world. You know, if I'm working for somebody, not only do they get me, they got him on the phone. And in this case, he came on like the second day I was there. They said, "Really? You know somebody who does algorithms?" And I said,
wow.
"Yeah, we'll bring him on." So it's been great.
And what's Digital Folio?
So Digital Folio is a company out of Denver. It's a startup, and we do shopping. So we're trying to make a better shopping experience. So we do. We have a folio, which is like a supercharged shopping list, and we do shared folios. So you can go on Facebook and go share your folio with your friends and family for like your Christmas wish list or your kids' Christmas wish list. And then we also do comparison shopping. So we've got a pretty cool sidebar that you go someplace and we'll show you prices from other places, and it's pretty cool. Silverlight sidebar. So we're looking for some ongoing changes as the computer science evolves and Silverlight.
Is there product out there in the world we could look at right now?
Absolutely. So www.digitalfolio.com. You can download our sidebar. It's changing every day. Not every day really, but we're working on it. It's coming along a long way. So we're out there, and we got some great stuff. We were in the Wall Street Journal. Walt Mossberg did a story on us, and Fox News Business did a story on us. So we've been having a good time.
And so you've implemented the text searching algorithm?
Yeah, and I can't let him talk about like the actual details of it because it's pretty proprietary. But he's definitely given us some really special stuff that's very different from anything else that's out there.
So don't listen to her, Ben. What you do?
Hey, do remember that wrecking people's careers is one of their goals. Not really.
Just hers. I'm not worried about it. You're fine. It's her.
It's not really a goal, but if it happens,
We're okay with it.
That's all right. Not going to talk. No, he's not talking.
Not going to talk about it.
All right. Well, so how did you get involved in math and computer programming? You have a story for us, don't you?
I do. I have a story. I have a story of the very first time Ben learned to program. And so, Mom's programming, and Mom's always saying, go away, I'm trying to finish this. Let me fix this bug. That's kind of his life. She's like 10 years old. He's like, hey, Mom, I think maybe I want to try that. I said, cool. And this is back in a different day when we actually had books. When you went to get, when you bought Visual Basic, there was books.
What is this thing?
Yeah, book.
With
paper.
Talk about?
Yeah.
Weird.
So there was a sample in there about the Microsoft Butterfly opening and closing its wings. So that's a great thing.
A graphical, the MSN Butterfly.
It's 2 images, open, close, moving around the screen. That was the demo.
Okay.
She said, that's great for a kid, real visual. So we do that. We spent a couple hours, and it's all going smoothly. And then we're kind of finishing it up, and he says, he's 10 years old, and he goes, Mom, that butterfly is great, but how do I kill it?
Nice. Directly to weaponry.
So I then said, one of the wiser things I said as a parent, which is, I don't know, I got to go make dinner. And by the time dinner was made, the butterfly did not explode. He was a little young for that, but it did stop flapping and slowly drift to the bottom of the screen.
Very cool.
So he killed his butterfly. So
you wrote digital DDT?
Yep.
That's a really cool story.
It's a great thing.
So he's also competed in Top Coder and some other stuff. So he's
Top Code?
Top Coder?
Well, now they do a whole bunch of different programming competitions. When I did it, it was primarily a fast algorithm coding competition, solving problems that are very computationally difficult, that require sophisticated algorithms to solve them. Then you have a very limited amount of time to write a program. If there's any bugs in your program, if it fails any tests, you get no points at all.
Right.
Wow.
And if it works perfectly, it's how fast you coded it.
Wow.
So not how fast it runs, but how long it took you to write it.
Right. Well, one of the things that has to be run fairly efficiently. If it takes more than a second, it's considered to have failed.
Oh, okay.
On any input case.
As long as it's under a second and works perfectly, then it passes.
Yeah, and then it's how fast.
Well, that's just like everybody else's code, really. Under a second has to work perfectly.
And the competition format was an hour and a half for 3 problems of increasing difficulty.
Wow,
that's awesome.
What kind of algorithms? Can you remember any of them?
Well, I could tell you names of plenty of them. Describing them over audio would be, I think,
challenging.
I need to draw pictures.
Yeah, okay. Just describing the kind of problem you're solving.
Yeah, lots of graph theory, lots of text, various text sorts of things. It's all kind of more bite-sized problems that you could actually solve in an hour, but you had to have the right insight.
Yeah.
Once you have the right idea, okay, you can solve it. They're very complicated code usually, hundreds of lines, but not epic scale things.
You're not landing anything on Mars.
No,
you only got an hour and a half.
Yeah, and but that hour and a half goes very quickly.
Very fast.
Yeah, you can write a surprising amount of code in an hour and a half when you really put your mind to it.
Yeah, and you're anxious.
Yes.
Ben, do you remember what the defining moment was when you were, I don't know, in school or homework or whatever, when you were like, math, I get it. I love this.
Yeah, so I definitely didn't start out that way. In elementary school, I was in remedial math.
Really?
Yeah, because arithmetic, I can't do arithmetic at all to save my life.
Like long division was painful.
No, even just like adding numbers together, I'll probably screw it up.
Oh wow.
But then once I got to more, algebra, more abstract things, then I was like, oh, this is easy.
Right.
But yeah, by the time I was in junior high, I was like, okay, I can definitely do this stuff. And I was, after the story she told, the butterfly, I was a bit young to be getting, really into programming at 10. But by the time I got to junior high, then I was, got back into it, writing games for Graphing Calculator. Mm-hmm. And I decided I wanted to be a video game programmer.
Wow.
That was my goal in life, and I realized later that maybe that wasn't the best idea in the world.
You like to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are people who make money on video games.
Yes, and there are a lot of people who don't make much money on
Yes.
It's probably the same reason that I didn't become a professional musician.
You like to eat.
I like to eat.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Kathleen, this must be very, very exciting for you, too.
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic having him on stage with me for the first time tomorrow, so that'll be great. He's helped me out a lot over the years, just, with systems and, getting me to events and that kind of thing. So he's been great over the years, but this first time he'll be, at a big event like this on stage working with me, and we think it's going to make it more fun for the attendees to have a little bit of banter going on.
So what kind of programming happiness are you working on these days?
Well, I'm kind of, it's interesting because my role at Digital Folio is technical evangelist, and so I'm bringing in new technologies as the thing. So the cloud has been the big thing I've been learning a lot about, beating our head a lot against some things around the table storage, looking forward to some great things going on in SQL Azure. So that's been kind of new and interesting. There's a lot of challenges still in that space, but I got to say those teams are amazing how fast they're going.
Yeah.
We're getting new stuff every quarter. The roadmap's just absolutely amazing. So that's going to be a nice thing to watch in the future. I did a conversion from Silverlight to jQuery last year. That was kind of fun. And
Silverlight to jQuery. Not exactly code compatible.
No, not exactly code compatible. It was a complete rewrite of the whole system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but it was interesting to have the same problem expressed in two different, completely different languages. And I have to say, I still do not connect well with JavaScript, jQuery, that whole game. Yeah. I'm really, it's painful debugging. I got better tricks than I did, but I'm still, for the size of what we're doing, because we're on that particular project, it's a single screen, and then it's a full business app with multiple tabs, and each tab individually saves and multiple pop-ups and
but just a single URL the whole time.
Single URL the whole time.
Not a post back in sight.
Right, not a post back in, all Ajax all the time, and the degree. I mean, it's about 5,000 lines of JavaScript code, and that has been. It was definitely a challenge, and
Well, I was talking to Bob, and I can't remember his last name, but he's a fan. He's listened to every show, and we met here at the casino. And he says that he's been doing some work in JavaScript, and just the lack of the control model, that he has in ASP.NET. Like he went looking for the ultimate suite of JavaScript controls. Yeah, no, there's nothing.
Yeah,
it's just a totally different model.
It is. It's totally different, and the degree of support and what you get. I know that it's easy to complain about the quality of what we're used to in the .NET framework because we never want to see a bug. As programmers, we want our tools to be absolutely perfect, and the quality sort of steps down. If you're in JavaScript itself, it's okay, and then you go, one step down to jQuery and you start seeing a few more issues, and by the time you get down to some of the controls, and I'll save mentioning any, you've got stuff like parameters that don't follow the same convention for different parameters within the same method call in a case-sensitive language. And it just, for me, it's been a trial. Little IntelliSense, little tools, and it's just, it's great that we're going to have more opportunities to use that in more ways, partially because the tools will get better. And
and Win8's bringing JavaScript to Windows in a big way.
It is, and Win8's really very, very interesting. It's an interesting time to watch that, interesting to see what's going to come of that, because Win8 is so many different things, and it's one of the things to try to judge it on. But right now, I would say the weakest thing in Win8 is the thing that it should be the most important to get right, which is the Win8 desktop. Most people will use the Win8 desktop. That will be their experience. And as of today, what we've seen, the experience is more difficult for the normal user than it is in Win7. And so it's hard to see why people in organizations are going to upgrade to an operating system if the individual's experience goes downhill. So
now,
I could be wrong.
I'm trying to figure out what you mean by that. The Win8 desktop to me looks just like the Win7 desktop.
Well, in some ways it does. Okay, but to start with, the full page start menu and the swing to get through the different pages.
That's the
I'm doing
the
that with my
metro piece,
finger, but you can't see that part.
Right.
But the fact that the start menu is so many pages wide.
Right.
That's what I'm trying with my finger make a little noise for swing, and so that's a problem in and of itself. But then also the fact that we don't have touch, most of us.
Right.
We have mice.
Right.
And the whole let's try to get this thing to work with a mouse is not yet.
No, it
for
doesn't
me,
work.
it's still extremely difficult.
It doesn't work.
I also think that Win8's not aimed at us. It's aimed at mortals.
But
regular users.
Well, but mortals inside corporations that are using Win 7 desktop today trying to go to Win 8 desktop.
I don't think that's likely at all. When I say mortals, I mean consumers buying new machines.
Right, but I still
Windows
think
8's
that
gonna end up.
the Win 8 desktop experience was the most important thing in this to get right, and it's the worst.
Well,
and
what do we know about Windows 8 desktop as an improvement over Windows 7? From what I understand, it's the task manager.
Well,
and that's about it, as far as I know.
And I'm talking about just the interface to the user. There's some under-the-hood things. There's some more things included. It's not my space, but Hyper-V is a little bit different. There's some other things. So
it's more performant.
They've done some work, and it's smaller, and there's a lot of, they've done some work on a lot of great things. But in terms of what we actually walk up to and touch, I'm not convinced it's a step forward. I'm not now as developers. I don't know that we care. Yeah. Because when we go to .NET 4.5, we can target Win 7 and Win 8 pretty much equally well. If we want to write for Metro, we're probably writing for a tablet anyway, and that's a totally different experience. And writing for the tablet makes sense. And so, so Win 8 tablet, Win 8 Metro, it's fine. It's just the Win 8 desktop. I really think that they've got a problem to solve before it goes live.
And you know, if you add to the problem the corporate mentality of we need to upgrade all our machines all at once, whereas if you have tablets, you're not going to upgrade them to Windows 8 because you'd have to upgrade everybody else to Windows 8.
No, I mean, I'm just putting my IT hat on here.
What do you think?
And I think that generally speaking, corporate's just moving to Win 7 now, and so they're in no hurry. They're a long way from moving to Win 8. In fact, they skipped Vista. Wouldn't be surprised me if they skip Win 8, go to Win 9.
Right, and so we don't know what's going to be the next thing after Win 8, because I think Win 8 has got a lot of really good groundwork laid for a great operating system. But I'd rather us not be in the habit of like corduroy. You know, we have a down and an up and a down and an up.
But it's worked so far. This could be the next Windows 2000, and the Win 9 will be XP.
Could be.
Well, you know what? I have one word: Slick Run. I've been using Slick Run to launch apps since Scott Hanselman showed it to me several years ago. It's a little window that gets your focus, and you type in a magic word, a keyword that you define, and it's linked to an app, and it just runs the app. And that kind of thing has been a huge productivity booster for me.
Well, I will say that on the Win 8 desktop, if you can get it to start talking to you, so if you can get where you start typing, which means you've got a keyboard, so that's fine. If you're on a keyboard, it's fine. It's got a good search into apps, and so if you start typing the name, some part of an app, it's a pretty good search to get into the app.
In desktop mode?
In desktop mode, yes.
If you start typing?
Well, it's because desktop mode, remember the start menu on the desktop mode is the Metro look part. So you're going to be on the big start page and the big tiles and all that.
All right.
But if you start typing, you do get a decent search today in the preview. So
that's good.
So that part is okay. It's just, it's not always my first choice, and it doesn't allow me to explore my desktop the way the start menu does.
And I think you hit the nail on the head where, in the developer preview anyway, you can't use Metro with a mouse. In other words, you can't pull the charms in from the side. The whole swipe from the side stuff doesn't work. I mean, you can scroll, but you can't pull those charms and things.
Well, and that's just irrespective of Win 8, which is really in a pre-release, not even a beta.
True.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about touch on the desktop machine, period. Just by itself. Like it doesn't seem right to me. As soon as you go to a multi-screen machine...
Well, I think
that's a challenge.
I think that what the desktop is, or the laptop is, because the number of desktops continues to go down, and I think that we have a whole new set of interactions that we're going to look at doing. So
but I don't want to go from the desktop. I'm just talking about the desktop machine.
So I'm very interested in what we're going to. Okay, so we're going. I want to get someplace else. That's okay. We'll go there. We'll go back.
Right.
So the desktop machine, I think is going to go away. I don't think that there's much reason.
Gartner agrees with you, apparently.
Ben's carrying around a laptop with 16 gigs of memory, an i7 2.4, and 2 or 3 gigs of video memory. He's got this great big huge monster big. It's not even. It's light, you know, for what it is.
Yeah.
It's great lap. It's a little bit twisted because it's got his Dvorak keyboard on it.
You're the only one, Ben. It's just you.
Oh well.
I think we're going to have to redesign desks. That's what I think.
Well, I do. I think we're going to have to redesign desks, and I think a lot of the docking situations, and then I also think there's a lot of pieces on the edges of this release that could have huge long-term impacts, and one of them is Windows to Go. So Windows to Go, to say that your computer, everything you care about is on a USB stick in your hand.
Right.
I worry that it's too small. I'm going to lose it. But you know, I can't lose my laptop. I can lose a USB stick. So I think there's a whole lot
I can't
of
live with
stuff
that
going.
little screen space. You know, my main dev machine is 4960 by 1600. And I can't give it up. I need that. Once you get that much screen space, you're never going back.
That's true.
It's a one-way trip.
Yeah, so I've got a few monitors at home, you know, in different setups. And I have to say that when I go on the road, because I spend so much time on the road, that I'm actually okay with it. I certainly have docking stations or you know, something.
Yeah.
When I sit down and work, I have a couple of travel ones here. I got a gold touch keyboard and stand that I carry with me wherever I go. And so, you know, I've got some stuff. But, you know, it's, at the end of the day, I just don't see people buying those big boxes anymore.
Richard, let me ask you this. If you had a desk that supported your monitors, your 3 monitors, and imagine they're all touch enabled, so that they're at a, I don't know, maybe a 35-degree angle in front of you and maybe angled up on the sides, and you could just drag stuff around and use your virtual keyboard, that wouldn't be cool?
I think that would be cool. The question is it
would it
productive?
Work? Would it work for you?
See, I don't think that's the right answer for the desktop in terms of the monitor space. So I think we're going to have a laptop that's going to be connected to monitors.
Right.
But I don't think it's going to be touch onto those monitors that you're going to be doing. What I think it's going to be is Connect.
It's going to be everything.
It's going to be Connect. It's going to be Connect. Because it,
you think we'll skip over touch for desktop and go directly to gesture?
I
think we will. I think that it's going to be slow, but I think that Connect can do a lot of that right now. It's not going to be like it's all going to change tomorrow, but it's so much cheaper. It's so cheap to put a Connect on your desktop. If you're running that many monitors, and it's only going to get cheaper to put that kind of technology there.
It's much more difficult to use Connect than it is touch.
I know, because we have a ways to go on that, a long ways to go, but it is a very different experience. But I think that direction is going to be more, because like you say, the layout of the desk has to change. That's an expensive, hard thing to do. Gets in a whole lot of ergonomics. You know, I definitely pay a lot of attention to ergonomics for myself and my team, because I don't have RSIs because I spend a lot of time not having an RSI, you know, and so if we start paying a lot of attention to those kinds of things, redesigning the desk is a very expensive thing to do. We're not going to do it tomorrow. It's going to take a while, and as we go forward, I think that it's just, by then we're going to get a Connect that actually works pretty well.
Well, and we still can't replace the keyboard, right? I mean, that's still the fastest data entry mechanism going.
Why would we want to?
I'm with you, but it gets back to, I didn't like the mouse because it lifted my hand off the keyboard. I gave in because I was outnumbered. But now they're asking me to take my hand even further away from the keyboard and make a mess of my screen, and that doesn't make me happy.
Well, that's why I think that Connect has a lot of options, because you're going to move your, eventually, I think with a sufficiently, when we have sufficient resolution, you're going to be able to move your hand up in a comfortable manner, like towards your chest by a few inches, and you're going to make small gestures at that point, and you're going to move things around on your screen.
I mean,
with a couple of fingers right just a few inches above your keyboard. And I think at that point, then Connect starts becoming an extremely good option, because the mouse is still one of the most serious problems with RSIs, particularly because the tilt of your hand is just wrong. And being able to move your hand flexibly in the air is a much more natural
Define
gesture.
RSI. It's an injury of some kind.
Oh, I'm sorry, it is. RSI is repetitive stress injury.
Repetitive stress.
Carpal tunnel is the most common one, but there's a great deal of tendonitis and other problems that are related to that. So repetitive stress injuries can be crippling to people, and so looking around it.
Surfing the web?
Yeah, you ever tried to surf the web on your phone?
It's a little small.
Especially when you're looking at a big list like the new feature list for Active Report 6.
Oh yeah.
We've been using it for 15 years. The coolest new feature is the new Silverlight Report Viewer. What's cool about it, of course, it's both native Silverlight for printing, but it's also got PDF support. So that really minimizes the amount of data that has to come over the wire. It makes it a lot more efficient.
Well, and we've been looking for a good solution for Silverlight data viewing.
It's a great product, man. I think I'm going to go order it.
Not on that.
Not on here. I'll go to my desk first. Active Reports from GrapeCity PowerTools.
Smarter components for smarter developers.
Can I shift gears and ask you about what we were talking about in Amsterdam last year?
Remind me.
Can we talk about...
Oh, wait. We were in Amsterdam? You want me to
No,
remember?
not last year. Maybe it was the year before.
She doesn't remember.
Oh, dear. I remember that. I remember that.
So
I remember walking down the street in Amsterdam. Yes,
No. We were at a speaker's dinner.
Okay.
And you were talking about a project you were working on that was a lot of composition.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even .NET.
Right. So there's a project in the Java space called NetKernel.
NetKernel?
NetKernel, right. It's out of a company called...
1060.
1060, thank you. I knew it was a number. I was thinking all these other numbers. They were wrong. 1060 Research out of England, trying to remember the town, Chipping Sodbury or some little silly town. But it's a fully composed systems, deeply composed systems, and so.
Now, what does that mean, actually?
Okay, so at one level, what that means is that you write software as little pieces, little granules, and then you string them together like beads on a chain.
Okay.
So you're taking a string and you're putting beads together. Now they have a lot of very good stuff around some things like caching and some other things that allow you to do that with extremely good performance. So you can write small pieces of software in any language you choose, and then string them together into larger pieces. There's a pretty big simplification, but on certain types of problems, you can see the amount of code you write dropped, say, by 95%. Massive,
so it's taking
massive
the component model to the next level.
It is. It's taking the component model to the next level, giving it a whole lot of internal support.
Yeah.
It's what they're doing is fantastic. I was looking at becoming a little bit more involved with that, decided I wasn't quite ready to leave the .NET space. It's in the Java space. I have done some work in tying it into .NET,
but what I'm
where we can tie across them. I did a presentation on that at the NetCologne West last spring, which was a whole lot of fun working with that.
The thing that caught my attention when we were talking about it is how little code you actually write to create an application.
So the interesting thing is that if you actually break down the code that you write, a number of people have done this. Rocky Locke has done it from a different direction.
Yeah.
Fernando Cardenas has done it from a different direction. From the code, Fernando Cardenas, he does code generation. Right. So different people have done it from different directions, and the code you write, about 90% of it is redundant or garbage or something. It's not code that's actually expressing your business intent.
Yes.
It's doing a bunch of other junk.
Support code.
Whatever it is, you know. So when we simplify that way down, we do have a whole lot less code, and less code means less money and less time to build it. So all of the techniques that take us that direction, which with the code generation and the composition and all this work has always been kind of a theme through my career, all of that stuff will eventually come together where we can actually get it done. It's very frustrating to me that that's been so slow. There is good stuff going on in code generation right now with the MVC scaffolding. I don't agree with everything they do, but good stuff. And then composition on the .NET side is the Managed Extensibility Framework in that.
So but you were mentioning some ridiculous numbers in terms of what you could do and how long it took.
Right.
With what was the name of the company again?
It's NetCologne is the product, and the company is 1060 Research, and I believe the website is 1060research.com if anyone wants to check that out. They've got a great newsletter, and the guy who runs that is almost too brilliant.
Okay. Yeah, that was very interesting to me. And so you were going to go into what's in the .NET space in this.
Right. So composition in the .NET space, we think about that a lot in terms of dependency injection frameworks of one sort or another.
Right.
It's not quite the same story as the composition that NetCologne is doing, but it's what we've got today and what we understand today.
Okay.
So within Microsoft, the Managed Extensibility Framework is a composition tool. It's a step towards a compositions tool, away from dependency injection. You know, there's very subtle lines drawn in there. But at the end of the day, if we can write our software as little pieces that are testable and usable in isolation, then we can move towards the big goals we've had for a long time, including code reuse and limiting redundancy and having quality applications that are testable.
How heavy is the composing part of the composition once you've got the little bits?
Do you mean composing from a programmer perspective or from a runtime perspective?
Well, really from a runtime perspective.
Okay, so from a runtime perspective, it's actually pretty darn good. So everything in all these systems that are successful, they've got a good job on that, because at the end of the day, what you're talking is a dictionary on steroids.
Right.
It's a very complex dictionary on steroids, but someplace in there you can get there. So
there's some sense of workflow in that, though.
It is, definitely. You've got workflow aspects, and in fact, one of the ways in the .NET space we do compose systems is through the Windows workflow. So WF, which is kind of coming slowly back, and it will get its act back together. That is definitely a composed system. They're doing some good stuff, actually. So I have to say that I got a lot of faith right now. They're putting it places like in TFS now, it has workflow, so it's kind of all over.
Yeah, once Microsoft starts consuming it, it gets dramatically better.
Exactly. Yeah. So with the Managed Extensibility Framework and that composition, the challenge to the runtime is actually pretty good. That does pretty well. The challenge to the programmer is at the end of the day on all these composed systems, whether it's NetKernel who's out in front, or whether it's MEF, or whether it's a DI container, on all of these systems, the problem you run into is actually understanding from a programmer perspective. Because
Yeah.
however much the spaghetti code is spaghetti code,
Yeah.
We
you
understand
can
it.
walk it.
Yeah.
And you can get it. And when it's, I don't know where this came from, is
Right.
the question.
Black
it's a
boxes.
hard question. Now there's a lot of diagnostics in the next version of MEF, the one that comes out in .NET 4.5. We have a lot of diagnostics in there. It's going to kind of make that part of it easier. But it is the human aspect of it that is where that's where we're just babies. We're still just taking our infant steps in the compositional world, because eventually that will be the story. The IDE for a composed system is very different, and
Yeah.
again, NetKernel's ahead on this stuff, but we still have a long way for everybody to go on.
Does it make sense to have components that are essentially web-based, so that
Absolutely.
it doesn't matter what you write it in, as long as you're following web interfaces?
Right, so that's a great point, and it also points out that some of the ways that we do composition today are actually across things like REST interfaces.
Yeah.
Some of the WCF work like Chevalier does. There's a bunch of stuff out there where people are doing little things with composition.
Right.
We're just it's not quite come together to go to the next level yet.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
when it does, I mean, people that write, say, like REST-based systems, sometimes they're going to find some really significant drops in the code that they write because they've simplified it by splitting things up. And in really the separation of concerns idea, we do it because it makes our life as coders simpler, but it turns out it actually makes the code simpler. So it's mushing things together, which is really what makes big balls of mud, and then we can't quite rip apart.
But I think the challenge when you play with the composition model is how you manage carrying certain bits of state information forward. Say you've got a complex
Interaction.
transaction, like some of those interactions get hard.
Well, they do. Now, one of the things that's nice about MEF, the Managed Extensibility Framework, is that it is a nested container.
Right.
And actually NetKernel is as well. When you've got a nested container, then you can put your state any place within the container that is your current state space.
So
and
it's
because it's
a
nested,
hierarchy to the workflow,
you can
effectively.
a hierarchy to the state.
Right.
So the state of the current, microcosm that you're in, but then you can reach out to the next bigger microcosm, the next bigger microcosm, and so the state just drifts. The state is no longer attached in a specific spot because that's very difficult, and that's one of the reasons the code gets complicated. And instead, that we allow the state to have a barrier, a geofence. We basically geofence our state, and then the state can exist within that. You can grab state from outer geofences as you need to, but you collapse that down to the vision at your current point in code of what state's currently available, and it's floating state. It's not state that's attached to an object, but the objects float as opposed to being passed through the code as parameters.
But each of these
Makes it
different
easier.
pieces of the composition contribute to that state information. At some
Absolutely.
point, you've got a completed package you can hand off.
Absolutely. Now
That's
you can
very
think about that.
SOA.
You can say, "Wow, that's very SOA." It's like SOA at different scale.
Yeah.
So it's a fantastic vision. But as you think about that, and you think about the complexity of it, you just shift the complexity, because you shift the complexity of how do we draw it, how do we flowchart it,
Right.
how do we do these things, and we're just learning that kind of stuff. In fact, doing I'm having a lot of fun with Digital Folio, but that's this work I miss because I really like doing that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Enjoy.
Figuring out how we actually push the envelope on imagining these systems, reasoning about these systems, looking at if I can't explain it to a manager, I really worry about the code I'm writing.
Well,
and
I
these
would
are
think
hard to explain right now.
Composition's easier to explain to a manager than the typical software, actually.
Well, flowcharts they kind of get.
Yeah. Well,
But
it
state
diagrams
machines are
well.
harder. Yeah. So there's a lot of space to grow there, and certainly us understanding things like pulling state machines into common usage, which is one of the things that the Windows workflow is poised to do, probably in its next revision, not its current revision. Some of those kinds of things will really help us so that we can think about state in a different way than we have before. State is not a parameter passed to a method. That is one way to express state.
Right.
But there's a whole lot of other ways to do it as well.
Sure.
Well, Kathleen, I'm just waiting for you to model the human brain in code.
Well-
What's next for you?
Well, I don't know what's next for me, actually. So yeah, so right now I'm a Digital Folio, and
What are you
that's-
interested in other than code?
Other than code,
Yeah.
gosh, the last few months have been so rough for me in terms of too much work that I haven't been doing much outside. Still liking playing the violin, still bad at it, but still loving it. That's great. Looking to try to move out of Denver. That's something I'm looking forward to working on doing. And got a new car.
Okay.
I got a new car, and I've nicknamed my car. It's the Veloster Laptop. Okay. It's the Veloster Laptop. I got a brand new Hyundai Veloster. You probably never heard. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's brand
Veloster?
new.
No.
Veloster, brand new car. Totally stoked out on the electronics. I mean, this thing
it's
does.
a geek car.
It's a geek car. total geek car. So I'm loving that. Brand new, got it on Saturday. I love it. So that's great.
Interesting books you've read? Because we talk about this sometimes.
Yeah. You know, I'm embarrassed that I haven't been reading because I have been so.
You've been doing.
I have been so busy that it has just been absolutely insane over the last couple of months. Looking forward to just kind of dialing. I love being busy, but I need to dial it back just a little to be a little bit less crazy than I have been. So yeah, I only got out paddling a couple times this year. Paddling being my kayak, but I've only been out in my kayak a couple of times this year. So it's just been a really crazy time.
Ben, what's next for you?
I don't know.
Excellent.
I'm currently working on a PhD.
What's the thesis?
Matroid theory.
Matrix theory?
Matroid theory.
Matroids,
which are things that are kind of like Matroids, kind of like graphs.
Don't they have a cream for those?
What?
Yeah, you can get a cream for that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm currently working on. I'm gonna take a break from that for a while and try some other stuff.
Dare we ask what a Matroid is? No?
No, probably not. No. that
You
might not
don't
be a
want
good
to
idea.
know.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm headed right now.
Well, we wish you absolute success in the future. I'm sure I'm sure you'll be stellar, and it's really good to see mother and son working together on math. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's fun.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you. It's been great. Thanks for having us.
Always great to talk to you. And we'll see you next time on .NET Rocks.